Welcome to Health Law Talk, presented by Shahardy Sherman Williams. Health law broken down through expert discussion, real client issues, and real-life experiences. Breaking barriers to understanding complex healthcare issues is our job.
And good afternoon, good morning, whenever you're listening to this. Welcome to another edition of Health Law Talk here at Shahardy Sherman Williams, where myself, Conrad Meyer, healthcare attorney, and the ever powerful, smart, intelligent co-host, Rory Bellina. Say hello, Rory.
Thank you for that introduction.
I like that, huh?
That was good. That was impressive.
That was a good. I like that. I'm glad. I try to be impressive.
Keep that introduction up.
You like that?
For me.
You know, you feel good, you call me. You know. So today, Rory, we have two special guests in the studio today. Randy Meir, pharmacist, Capital Wellness Solutions, and Dr. Rome Sherrard, physician. Both of y'all, welcome to the show. Rory and I really appreciate you. How are y'all doing today?
We're doing well. Thank you for having us. We really appreciate it.
Doing great. Thank you.
Yeah, well, that's good. Well, today we have a very, very interesting topic. We're going to be talking about medical marijuana. I mean, I think, Rory, I know you get questions about this. I get questions about this. And we decided to reach out to the two experts here in Louisiana that are dealing with this. Randy, you want to tell the audience a little bit about your background and Capital Wellness, and then Dr. Sherrard can chime in. Tell us about medical marijuana. What is it? What is Capital Wellness? What do you do, Randy? And then I'll go to the doctor.
Yes, sir. Thank you for that. Super happy to be here with you guys today. You know, being a pharmacist in Louisiana, I own several pharmacies throughout the state and ship specialty medications to many states. Medical marijuana excited me because we treat it no different than a specialty medication. When this came to our state several years ago, I knew it was going to be regulated by the pharmacy board. I knew that we run very accredited pharmacies. We're on the cutting edge with specialty meds, and I looked at this as something good to do for the community and be able to help patients. I'm so proud that we got one of the first licenses here. We dispensed the first product to any patient in Louisiana. And I tout that throughout the country, saying we actually dispense the first product in the Deep South, as I go through other states and help educate not only physicians but legislators on medical marijuana.
Now, and that's a great, and that's what Capital Wellness does?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and Capital Wellness, just so the listeners know, that is the name of the pharmacies that you have?
So Capital Wellness is the medical marijuana dispensary.
I got it, okay.
It's located in Baton Rouge. We have the Capital region. There's 10 permitted pharmacies throughout the whole state.
Okay.
We're one of those 10.
Got it. In a pharmacy dispensary, I mean, am I saying the right lingo? What's the difference? Is there any difference? I don't know.
There is. No, great question. So your traditional pharmacy will service you with all your medications.
Right.
These 10 pharmacies that are placed throughout the state only service you for medical marijuana.
These are brick and mortar?
They are brick and mortar.
Okay.
When you come to our site, you will be educated and sit down with a pharmacist if you choose, or you could go online and look at the several products we offer and pick what's good for you, rather it's wanting to sleep good at night, live with less anxiety, whatever it may be.
Right.
And that's one thing that we'll get into later is, you know, who's our average patient? What does that look like?
Right.
But I will tell you, this pharmacy just has medical marijuana products. Being a pharmacist and owning other pharmacies that service a variety of patients, that's what excites me, because I see the difference we make in patients' lives with this therapy, just medical marijuana.
So it's not just you're dispensing, you're also educating along with the doctor, which we'll get to in a minute, correct?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
And I guess, when did the first, medical marijuana prescription, when was that dispensed here in Louisiana?
Yes, sir. That was August of 2019. Capital Wellness, my dispensary, was the first to do that in the state. That was to a cancer patient. We actually serviced the cancer patient and the first veteran here in Louisiana.
So that's been about 3 years now.
Yes, sir.
And since then, how has the medical marijuana pharmacy business, from Capital's perspective, from what you can say, how much has it grown? A lot, little? I mean, are we seeing more and more every year? What's sort of the pattern here?
You know, we've had several hurdles. So when the licenses were first given out, we had limited diagnoses, very limited. We didn't even have chronic pain in the very beginning.
Okay.
And that's an area that we see helps patients so much, where they reduce all their other meds. They're not taking as many opiates. We got that approved. before the program was launching. And then we just didn't have many products. Patients only had few choices between tinctures, some vape devices. The program has evolved so much to now today we have a full line of therapy. 1 year ago is when smokable flower launched. And about 60% of the patients that come to us prefer that. So prior to flower, where they could get the smokable form, it was just a lot limited. Patients, the reason they prefer that treatment choice the most is because of the immediate onset. We could give them tinctures, we can give them gummies, vapes. Vapes work fast as well, but flower, you just get the fast onset.
What's a tincture? I've never heard of that.
Tincture, yes. So it's a little vial of liquid that has THC in it, and CBD combo. It's a big misconception. People don't realize that
Rory
we have.
just pulled up on the screen. That's what that is?
That's it.
That's
a
is,
tincture
wow,
line.
look at that.
And for the first 2 years, that was pretty much all we had. Last January, 1 year ago, is when flower became available. And that's when the program really exploded.
Wow. So, do you see, we only have 10 dispensaries in the entire state. I know that was political, some people say, right? They're not expanding this. You're going to have, it's only going to be 10 dispensaries.
We did do an expansion because we wanted more.
Oh, you did?
patient
Okay.
access.
I didn't know that.
Yes,
so,
sir.
So how did that work?
So last year, the program expanded and went ahead and mirrored what some other states do, like Florida, where you have satellite locations. So the 10 of us, once you meet these milestones from a patient demand, it's a triggering event for a satellite location. So we went from 10 to 30 in the state.
Did you know that, Rory?
I did not.
I did not know that at all.
Yes, sir.
So you have to. So you're governed by the Board of Pharmacy, correct?
Yes, sir.
So do you have to go to them and say, "Hey, is it the pharmacy that controls the dispensary, or is it something else?" I don't know that answer either.
No, the board is our regulating body.
Okay.
They monitor as each dispensary reaches 3,500 patients. Then they trigger your second license. Once that dispensary gets 3,500 patients, you're triggered for the third.
So when you say license, because I'm familiar with controlled CDS licenses, right, with doctors, and I'm familiar with a pharmacy license in the state. So this is a special purpose license for this?
It is. It's a therapeutic marijuana.
Gotcha.
Permit.
Okay.
So you get a permit once that triggering event happens.
So that's very interesting. So let's go to the clinician side, Dr. Sherrod. Tell me. First off, let's go in and talk about your practice. Tell me the name of the practice again.
Yes, it's Transformative Health Centers, and we're based out of Baton Rouge.
Okay.
And it's just been a wonderful experience. Just give you a little history.
Yes.
Basically, I work as an emergency room doctor, and I do that as my other job. And it's just been really, really a step in the right direction because we have a lot of patients that suffer from chronic pain. We see them in the emergency room. Right. And we are trying to get away from the narcotics and basically the opioids. Right. And the crisis that's out there. So, what happened basically is I was at home and I had an individual next to me, Mr. Randy. He came by and said, "Hey, I'm with Capital Wellness. I'm a pharmacist, and we're going to be starting a medical marijuana program in the state of Louisiana." And I was like, "What is this?" Right. Tell me a little bit more. So time passed, and we actually got together and started working together as far as getting the knowledge out and the wisdom as far as the medical THC.
So your clinic it's you. You're the guy.
I'm the man.
You're the man. So when and speaking of ER physicians, my wife's an ER physician. So
wow. Okay.
So I can see the difference. I can understand when you're coming from when you talk about how you came into play with starting this business. Patient comes to you in the ER, or do you have a separate clinic, or how does it work?
Yes, I do not do the recommendations from the emergency room.
Got it.
What I do is we have to do advertisement and referrals, and basically patients will see in our advertisement that the actual recommendation qualifications.
Okay.
At first, we started off, like you said, with about 10. One would be anxiety. One was tractable pain. Those were several of the ones that they had. So basically what happened is from there, they will call or contact our company, and we'll set them up. I have a secretary that helps handle that as well, and we get their information. And then what we do is a formal interview where we talk with them and we go over the medications to see if it's something that will help them with their needs.
So you look at H&P and get the background, what's going on with them, and sort of do an evaluation.
Exactly.
And then you decide clinically if they're eligible for the program, and then so then it's just a lockstep into Randy's program at Capital Wellness. Correct? You go to refer to Randy. Correct?
Yes. So what basically happens is the patient will fill out their application.
Right.
We'll do an interview. We'll talk. And then from there, what we do is I will write this thing called a recommendation.
Okay.
That recommendation is sent to the dispensary. We usually send our patients, because I'm in the Baton Rouge area, Capital Wellness. And from there, the patient will go into the dispensary and get their medication, get their recommendation verified from the pharmacy. And what I really love about the program, and it's just a progression in the right direction, is that we also, it's a double verification. You've got the doctor that actually talks to the patient,
right,
and does the H&P and the information. Then from there, we go to the pharmacy, the dispensary, and the pharmacist actually will sit down with them and go over the medications as well, as far as the dosing and what works best, because you've got several strains actually, and then you also have different concentrations that work differently for the patients in particular.
Interesting.
Sherrod, I had a question about that.
Sure.
So, and we're looking at your website right now, or patients will come in, and I know Randy briefly spoke about how there was this expansion where I believe it started with 16 approved conditions by the state legislator, and then they expanded it. They added on chronic pain that you mentioned, and then they added like a catch-all, which was kind of like, I believe, as doctors thought it was necessary to recommend. I know, like Louisiana, it seems is going in the right step and expanding on this use. When a patient comes in and they see you and they go through everything that you mentioned, and you give the recommendation, do they get a card per se, or is it, and then, or if they don't, what goes over to Capital Wellness? Do you say, I recommend a tincture or the smokable form, or is that decided once they get to the pharmacy or the dispensary?
Yes, that's a very good question. What we do at this time is we actually do write the recommendation. And what I do is I send that recommendation to the dispensary. In the state of Louisiana, there's not a card. We are really hoping one day that it will be included with the LA wallet. That would make too much sense.
Sure.
But you've got to, make your baby steps.
Sure.
So basically what we do is I give them documentation that they are part of the program. I'll usually send an email to them and they can print out or what have you. And that has come into play a lot of times. If you have a situation with your job or what have you, you need to have some kind of verification documentation. So we do that as well.
Okay. And so then they go to Capital Wellness and they discuss with the staff there what type to get, or do you recommend that?
We work hand in hand,
Okay.
actually.
Okay.
It's a protocol. What'll happen is I'll have a recommendation. I'll give the diagnosis that I feel is appropriate for that patient. From there, the actual dispensary the pharmacist will receive the recommendation. They'll look at the diagnosis, and then from there they'll kind of decide the concentration. Several factors come to play. One is the diagnosis, but two, the other thing that we always look for is the experience of the patient. There's certain concentrations for different patients, and then the strains also have come to play.
And see, that's so different to me when I think of, I go see a physician, they say you need, Tylenol 300, and go to the pharmacy, and the pharmacy says, yes, we have Tylenol 300, here it is, and that's kind of it. But this is very different in that the pharmacy or the dispensary really has a say, and I know that we've had an episode with pharmacists about this before, where they've said that they wanted more of an active role in actually deciding what the patient got, because they're specialized, they go to school, just for kind of the drugs portion. And that, sometimes the physicians don't know as much about the drugs as they do. So this is really interesting to hear that, it allows the dispensary and the pharmacist there to have a say in that.
Yes, that is so true. It's been a big change for me as a primary care physician and ER physician. It's been wonderful to be able to work hand in hand with the pharmacists. I talk to them. They have my phone number and I have theirs. We talk and discuss, and we go over treatment plans for the patients, and that working together it has been a good step in the right direction, and I really think that's something that we should do more of as far as going in the health profession.
I could comment a little bit on that too, because we found the reason that was such a necessity in this space is because as products were available, certain products are more available, certain aren't. So a few physicians would say, we're adamant about our patient having this specific product. Well, that one may not be available next month. Or the patient may build up tolerance to that and need something a little stronger. It was so much more convenient for the patient for us to sit with them and say, okay, your condition's changed a little bit. You maybe have built up a little tolerance. You need to use it more often. We could go ahead and give you this one now because this is available.
That's really, I mean, this is the first time that I've ever heard where, the pharmacist actually has a say in the medicine that the patient gets or is recommended.
There's so many different products in this space. It's hard it would be such a task for a physician to say we're locking you into this specific one. The strand may change, many things change. So the way we view it as a therapeutic marijuana recommendation, you're authorizing the patient to receive therapeutic marijuana, and when they come see us, they get that, regardless of which form they get it, edible, smokable, vape, is up to the patient.
Sure. Well, Randy, one question that I had for you is, this is, I want to say, relatively new to Louisiana. Other states have been a lot more progressive with it and are allowing it for recreational uses. Can you elaborate on where you see that going? And, I guess, what are you hearing about is it going to move to a recreational use? Dr. Sherrod, I'd love to hear your opinions on, do you think that's a good idea or not? Mm-hmm. And also, I'd love to hear your opinions on, this versus kind of like the street prices or the street programs. Why is it so much better if you need this to go see an actual physician to get a recommendation versus buying it off the street?
Basically, to sum up all of those answers, it's around quality and testing. All of our products have been tested. They've been approved by a lab. Many products that we see that come in from other states or across state lines are recreational use, black market use, don't have the same testing protocols. So
that's why essentially you're gonna pay more to get it from a center like yours.
I've had patients in our lobby. We've had patients when the media is there on camera, even students from LSU, everyone from our common patients that will be in our lobby and say, we don't mind paying a little more
Absolutely.
To know what we're getting. We know that this is a guaranteed product that has not been tampered anyway, and and we're getting exactly what we're buying.
So you can't just come in and say, I want the Purple Mountain, or something. I can't come in and say, I want this, whatever, some kind of crazy name weed.
I think it's really important.
It's all based on potency. I don't know what it is.
Conrad, but you can actually do that. I mean, we have.
You can.
Oh yes, we have all different. We have Jenny Kush. We have all kind of names.
Okay.
And
now that's something I didn't know either.
Yeah.
Did you know that, Rory?
I did not.
If you go to my website and you hit the online ordering,
we're looking at it right now.
You can scroll.
Look at it.
So
baked apple pie.
Yes, sir.
So there is
9-pound hammer.
Yeah,
what is that?
That was really good for sleeping. So this is the thing that's amazing. If you walk into Capital
Cherry
Wellness
Diesel?
right now, you'll see the average patient that comes to us is a 51-year-old female.
Really?
And that 51-year-old female always tells us the reason they're there, they want to sleep good at night, they want to have less anxiety. So that 9-pound hammer that you just seen, it's really good vape device. People will usually use that 30 minutes before bedtime. They'll vape on it, 2 vapes, and they're good. They sleep like babies.
Really? Okay.
I had no idea.
What is
how many varieties do you have?
You see them there, bud, and it changes every day.
He said, wait, did I see that? 500 and no, that's not 510. How many varieties I'm looking at?
That's a 510 thread, so that attaches to a vape device. But
okay.
If you go up right there, I'll walk you through it real quick.
Go up, Roy,
and
on that
anyone can look
website.
at this. This is our online catalog. That is all of the flowers. So you can scroll to the side right there, and you'll see all the different flower types we have. That is what's called your smokable flower. So you're gonna roll that yourself, or you're gonna smoke it.
So you get this from the growers?
Yes, sir.
And there's only 2 growers in the whole state, right?
Yes, sir.
Is that LSU and Southern?
Yes, sir.
Wow, look at all that stuff. I mean, I got Ghost, melted ice cream. Now, let me ask you this. Do the growers make the names up, or when you get them, you say, I'm going to create this one? How does it work?
It's named after the strand. So all of this is specific to the strand and how it's been grown.
Okay. Hey, I learned something new today.
So I have a more practical question, because I'm just thinking about this for the everyday consumer.
Right.
Two things that I'm sure, Dr. Sherrod, you get a lot of questions about are, what if my work finds out? What do I tell my boss?
Very good question.
Can I drive? Can I operate heavy
Right.
machinery? What is your conversation with the patients about that part of this? And then also the insurance part. I love for both of y'all to talk about how that's evolved in Louisiana, or what the current status is. I just honestly don't know.
Yes, it's a very, very good question. At the very beginning, it was a large gray zone. Several things that we use for criteria as far as usage. We do ask and screen our patients. We just don't hand it out to everybody.
Sure.
Want to make sure that, they do qualify, but some of your reasons we would not prescribe it are age. I don't write for anybody under the age of 18.
Okay.
Number 2, pregnancy. It's a big question,
Sure.
big variable. And also your work, your job, and that's where it becomes personal. At Transformative Health Center, you talk to me,
Sure.
so I can kind of guide you through and everything. There have been people that I said, "Hey, look, you're operating an explosives truck or whatever. I don't think that's a good idea for you to do it."
Okay.
I've had big Fortune 500 companies that are here in the area that I've actually been able to work with their compliance and figure out what they would like and everything,
Sure.
as far as having a plan for the people that work with equipment
Sure.
or stuff that needs to be
'Cause
watched and monitored.
What I was thinking of was the example of, you mentioned, like, for anxiety. So if this is something that someone comes in and you recommend it to them for anxiety, and let's say it's the smokable form, and they smoke before they go to work.
Yes.
Is that going to affect them driving to work, performing their job duties? I assume that's all things that you go over with them.
Oh,
so
yes.
They,
Yes,
so they
sir.
understand, can you do your job while you're on this?
Yes, and the answer to your question is these patients are able to perform with the medication. A lot of times, if there's something where they're handling heavy machinery or heavy equipment, we do put some stipulations. I've even drawn up contracts or whatever
Oh, wow.
with their employers where they agree not to, use the medication 8 hours prior to work. So if they have something where they have insomnia or whatever, and they need to get rest, they kind of we have a contract where they'll take it before 10 o'clock
Sure.
and not 8 hours.
Sure.
Before.
And that's driving too. I mean, driving a car.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay.
Do y'all, I was going to ask y'all that, and maybe Randy, y'all can comment on this.
Mm-hmm.
I know we have the alcohol limitation. You have to be 0.08
Sure.
or less, or
Right.
less than that, maybe. I don't know. But have they done something with THC in Louisiana? I mean, is it?
So you can't measure it like that.
It can't. Okay, I don't know.
It's absorbed in your fat cells.
Uh-huh.
So regardless if you use it 10 minutes ago or 10 days ago,
It doesn't
it's gonna
matter.
show the
It's
same.
in there.
Oh, interesting.
Interesting.
Okay.
I didn't know that either.
Now, there are some tests I hear coming out of Canada that are supposed to be improving that.
Right.
And you can tell more so if a patient's
Okay.
under the influence right away. The main thing to kind of answer some of the questions that you had was, we view this no different than any other medication. So
Okay.
a patient that's working in a plant that's operating heavy machinery that's been authorized to be on oxycodone because they're in pain.
Yeah.
If they take too many of those pills, or you even take too many Tylenol, you're not going to function right. This is no different. Many of our products have CBD in them along with THC, and the CBD helps counteract the fact that you're going to have this big high.
Okay.
Patients that use this correct do not get high.
Exactly.
They can use it if they want to use more of it, but if they're just taking small doses during the day while they're at work, they function completely fine.
Exactly.
Interesting. So I mean, and so I've been seeing CBD versus THC. What's the difference? Because I don't know.
Yeah, it's a big thing right now. So CBD, they do allow a tiny bit of THC to be in that. It's
Okay.
0.1 if you buy it over the counter. We always view that as an entry level for a patient. A patient that CBD is great for inflammation. CBD is great to help relax you. But when it's in combo with THC, that's when you see the ultimate effect.
I see. Okay. So what's the difference between going to see Dr. Sherrod, and I know where this answer is going, but I want to ask it for our listeners. Going to see Dr. Sherrod, getting a recommendation, going to you, Randy, talking to your pharmacist, and then someone saying, well, I'm just going to go to the gas station and get the Delta 9 or whatever they're blinking on the
Yeah,
side.
yeah, because you see that everywhere.
And I feel like I keep seeing it at more and more places, even like my neighborhood gas station across from a school. I'm like, what is this
Not
stuff?
just the neighborhood. I mean, I see it on trucks, like down in the quarter. I mean, they're all over the place.
So can y'all talk about what that is and how it differentiates from both your models?
Yeah. So once again, it goes back to the quality.
Okay.
You know what you're getting.
Right.
You're getting therapeutic doses with us. Many of the times those things are not dosed correctly. We don't view that as a therapeutic alternative.
Okay.
With us, you have a true therapeutic alternative. I hear there's some things, legislators are furious with some of that stuff happening, and I think we're going to see some of that changing in the near future, where gas stations are not just carrying these random products.
Right.
And it goes back to quality and safety for the patient.
Sure.
When you come to us, you're guaranteed quality and safety, and that's what I would focus on.
Got it.
And guidance.
Yeah, that's really big. So one question I had, and I know we could spend the whole episode on this, is insurance. What's the status with insurance with this?
Good question.
Yes. Currently, it's a fee-for-service cash.
Okay.
There's no insurance due to the federal guidelines.
Okay.
At this particular time, no insurance carriers cover it.
Are covering for the your evaluation, your recommendation, or for getting it filled per se at a pharmacy?
Both of them. It's not covered.
So that's what's cash business.
Strictly
Cash business. Okay.
Well, Randy, that's got to be different for you. You know, you come from like the traditional pharmacy per se to go into this, so I'm sure there's been some learning curves in going to that model.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, dealing with the PBMs, and we find many a times the PBMs, you know, they charge the employer a lot larger price. So if the insurance ever did get into this, it would ultimately raise the cost for all the employers, and that's what people don't realize. At the end of the day, PBMs, they're not saving the consumer. They may save the consumer a little bit, it appears, but overall it costs money for everything.
We can do an entire episode, Randy, on PBMs.
Absolutely.
I would love. Well, I mean, I don't know if you want to do that with us, but I can tell you right now, I would love to do that because I'm right there with you on PBMs, and I think people have no idea.
They do not.
They don't. They really don't.
At the end of the day, it raises the cost for everyone.
And that's not what they were there intentionally. That's not what they were created.
Exactly.
And I think that's hard with this industry kicking off because you know I'm looking at something that's a pre-rolled.
I'm looking at Mandarin cookies.
Yeah, it looks like it's a cookie, which I can't tell how large that is or how long that'll last.
It sounds like a cookie.
But
It's a cookie.
It's $60 cash, or you can get a 30-day supply of Percocets for $5. So, I mean, Dr. Sherrod, can you talk about how you, or if you do, I don't want to answer for you, prescribing this versus opioids, or you know, I know these are controlled on the federal level, but this versus your standard controlled substance. What are your how's your practice shifted?
It has shifted a lot. My personal satisfaction as being a physician has changed over the last 3 years. You know, when I have patients that are receiving pain opioids or what have you, it's a constant cycle of you having to go up on the dosing. There are a lot of side effects that go along with it. Sometimes, you know, we have patients that become addicted to the medications, and they also start, you know, developing a tolerance. And I've had a really, really good, you know, patient base that has been able to get off of the actual opioids and use just the THC. And one of the things that we really love about the medical THC is that it's one of those things, if you want to stop or if you need to take a break from it, you're not going to suffer from the withdrawals that you would from the opioids.
And Randy, I don't want our listeners to forget, you're a pharmacist, so you've been on both sides of this, of filling opioids and with your traditional pharmacy and now this. What are your thoughts on when you saw scripts for Percocet versus a recommendation for this?
Yeah, it's amazing. I will tell you, working with so many of the chronic pain docs, they love medical marijuana. And the reason is they get a lot of pressure on them with the state to not prescribe so many pills.
The new pain regs are just
absolutely
right.
They're unbelievable, and many of the physicians complain to me. They're like, you know, the state board and around the country, it's not just Louisiana, it's everywhere. The DEA is putting pressure on them to not have patients on opioids and a benzo. They make them choose which product are you going to take, and they don't like that. So they're happy they could give them therapeutic marijuana.
Well, the pendulum is swung, though, Randy. I mean, remember that we had the fifth vital sign, and I know you know this, Dr. Sherrod. So we had the fifth vital sign that was you were trained to treat the fifth vital sign, which is pain. And now, after the opioid crisis, the pendulum has swung completely on the other side.
It has.
And so now you've got pain docs. I've got pain doc clients who are no longer pain docs because they can't practice for fear of,
breaking the regulations.
Right.
Yes, exactly.
But I will tell you, the patient...
And that robs the patients.
It does. It robs the patients. But many of them have started using therapeutic marijuana so much that now the doc will focus on their injections, will focus on treating them holistically without just pills and incorporate therapeutic marijuana. It's amazing the results.
So let me ask you this, and then if you can talk about this, medical marijuana, because it's approved by the state, how does that interact with federal controlled dangerous substance license? Does it even come into play?
It does. I do have a lot of patients that I've had to actually turn away that they're truckers. They do a lot of cross interstate activity. And
so it's got to be a Louisiana resident.
Yes, let's go over that as well.
Yeah, because I think that's really important.
One of the requirements of the medical THC program at this particular time is that you have to be a state resident of Louisiana.
Okay.
And your borders are the state of Louisiana as far as you being able to use your medical THC. So
then CDS doesn't come into play. Is that right? I don't know.
It does, because if you I'm making sure I'm saying the right thing. When they're if you're driving a truck or what have you, you cannot cross state line. Yes, sir. I'm sorry, I didn't.
So because once you cross into Mississippi or Texas, then and it's not legal. Let's say it's not. I don't know if it's legal there or not. But if it's not, then now you're in a place where you could be arrested and you could.
Exactly.
I see.
And that's one of the things that the patients always ask, well, can I take this out of the country? Can I go on a plane?
Oh, yeah, no.
And the answer is no, but you'll be surprised. Patients still think that that's okay. And
my doctor told me I could go to Miami.
No. And that's one of the wonderful things being with Transformative Health Centers and being the doctor, to be able to talk with them. I do give advice as far as not just the medical standpoint, but how you conduct yourself in with the rules and regulations that they have as far as patients.
So one other question I have. So I come to see you, doctor, and I get my prescription. I go to see Randy. He gives me Mandarin cookies. Or whatever you tell me I get, Randy. I'm just saying that because it's sitting right there on the TV, on the screen. Rory has it pulled up. Is it a one prescription time deal? I mean, can you order refills? I mean, how often do I have to go back to Dr. Sherrod if I need to go back? How does that work?
Yes, what we do with Transformative Health Center is I build a rapport with the patients. Like I said, they all have my phone number to call me at any time if they need anything. The renewal is 1 year each year. I have patients that call me multiple times during that year, and I have some people that call me at the end of the year. And what we do from there is we go over, are you having any reactions to the medication? Is there anything we can do as the physician and as the dispenser, because we work well together as far as making changes and improving your experience with the medical THC.
So your recommendation is for 1 year. So does that, in Conrad's example, he's allowed to go into the pharmacy every day and buy at his discretion? How does that work, Randy?
We do have limits.
Okay.
So if we see a patient climbing up to the state limits, we will tailor that down. So I will tell you, though, we don't really run into that. The patients...
So the state has a limit.
They do have a limit.
I see.
But
per patient.
It's pretty high. It's on a monthly basis. They can only consume so much.
Got it.
Okay, so you're tracking that internally to know that Conrad was here the other day. He got this, so he really shouldn't be coming back for 2 weeks.
And we really don't run into that.
No.
I will tell you, the only time if a patient's coming in to try to buy so much at one time, then we're like, okay.
Are you traveling somewhere, buying for friends? That's what I would think.
Is it actually in a script, like an actual script on a pad, like you say, here you go, and you give the patient to give the Randy?
No, that's another thing. I'm glad you asked that question.
Yeah, good question. I like that.
That was phenomenal. The actual recommendation is sent as a secured fax to the actual dispensary.
Okay. So the patient never touches it?
Yes, the patient does not touch it. They do not go in with their script and say, hey, I'm ready to get my medical THC.
So there's no chance for tampering right
now. That was what I was thinking. So.
And Randy, you were talking, I didn't mean to interrupt you, I apologize.
Yeah,
you were
I'm
talking
sorry,
about
Randy.
your controls internally. If someone walks in and they say, I want to buy one of everything,
You know, we've had that happen once. You know, with a distillate, somebody wanted to come in and buy 100 vials.
100 vials?
And we're like, no way.
You can't do that.
No way. We didn't let them do that.
Sure. Okay.
And I mean, they wound up getting 5. They were worried because they love the product so much. They were not trying to sell it. They weren't giving it to family. They were just scared that it would be in short supply.
Okay.
But we still limited that because, you know, the board would never want us to do that. So we limited them. I think they maybe wound up getting 3 because
Okay.
that would last them for 30 days.
But they're
so
allowed-
we look at how often it would last them. If they're getting a product that maybe will just last them 5 days, then of course they could come back. But we do monitor that internally.
And this is just, I keep going back to like the traditional prescription model because that's all that I've known. This is so different because the patient's able to walk in and say, Randy, I didn't like the cookie. I need something different. Or it made me too tired at night and I couldn't wake up the next morning. And your team is then able to change it up with them and they're not stuck with that script or having to go back to see Dr. Sherrod.
We're able to change it because all strands work different. Some may make them more alert. And we try to educate them in the beginning, but everybody reacts different to medical marijuana. And that is why we have the position to be able to alter the dose, give them something different. They may prefer non-pound hammer. Maybe non-pound hammer was too strong.
Sure.
And they slept for 12 hours. So we have the ability to alter that.
So once it gets faxed, the prescription gets faxed to Randy. That's how long is that good for?
That is good for a year from the time that
From the time, okay. And I can see why you want LA Wallet.
Yes.
You know,
To verify.
So they could have
it,
for verification.
for verification purposes.
Dr.
Now-
Sherrod, are there any patients that this is not good for? If you could think of the patients that have come into you, and I'm sure you could pick up on if they're lying to you or not, but
Yes.
is there any patients that come in and you say, I don't think this is for you, I think you need to see someone else, or I think you need to go with a different traditional medication? What does that look like?
I do. We have a screening that we use or what have you. One, age is one of the big limitations. We do have patients that are younger that they're by requirement they have to see the person that's prescribing the medication or doing the recommendation has to be a pediatrician by training. So we do filter that. That's one of the big ones. Number 2 are our pregnant patients. We've had patients, hey, I've heard that it's natural and everything should be fine and everything, but based on our recommendations as physicians, it has not been cleared for you to take medical THC during pregnancy. So we do screen that as well.
And for you guys to know, we do have children in the program. There's many autistic children that benefit amazing from this.
I've never,
Really?
that's something, I need to have y'all on more often. I'm learning new things every 2 or 3 minutes. I did not know that. So how does that work for autistic kids?
How has that been compared to, again, I keep forgetting, you don't only own this, you're a pharmacist. How does that work compared to, I don't know what children with autism take, but I assume it's some sort of controlled pill. How does this compare to that?
We find this calms them down way more. Think about it. Many of the products that we use for people to sleep better at night, an autistic child benefits amazing from.
That's incredible.
And then not to even go, we work so closely with neurologists, with people that have seizures. That's how this whole program, that's really why we're here today.
Right.
Because of that type of benefit with seizures.
So you're seeing, I mean, I'm not, all kidding aside, you're seeing major differences in patient lives because of this.
Absolutely. From everything, from anxiety, cancer patients, autistic children, everything.
So let me ask you this. Let's have a 1, 3, 5 conversation. Where do you see this going in 1 year, 3 years, and 5 years? Where do you see this happening? Where is this business going?
You know, I think eventually it is going to be federal across the board that will be passed, and that benefits the program overall. For example, one of the biggest hindrance and things for us is credit cards. Patients can't use credit cards
Why is that?
because of the federal regulations.
Federal banking regulations.
Okay.
So they can't do
use a
that.
credit card to buy something that's illegal per se.
Yes.
Okay.
We do take debit cards because that's not a federal. You're not operating with credit transaction.
I got it.
So you could use your debit card.
Another thing that we also have in the state is there are certain banks that are state owned that allow us to, I'm not going to do advertisement, but that allow you to use their banks,
Their bank credit.
Yeah.
Okay. Or their internal. Okay.
Yes.
That's interesting.
Yeah, because not all banks will take your cash. You can't have a bank account with just anyone.
So you see this going federally, nationwide, medical marijuana, and across the states at some point, and the feds finally just capitulating and say, you know what, we're going to end this.
I think it's going to be on different levels. I don't think it's going to be full out. I do think it's going to be different levels that they do it. And I think at the end of the day, they're still going to want the states to have some control.
Is Louisiana going to continue to grow?
Absolutely.
Yes,
Do you want it to change to a open door model like you see in Colorado, where I could walk in without seeing Dr. Sherrod and buy whatever I want off the shelf?
You know, I think as medical professionals, we enjoy the medical benefit of the program. We can really see the full benefit with that and have relationships with the patients.
Yes.
I think the South is many years away from going recreational.
Very conservative.
And I think as a medical program, you have the rules, you have the structure. It gives many more people comfort.
Okay.
Yeah, our patients, like he said, you know, the 51-year-old white female
Sure.
that comes in wanting medical THC, they want to talk to a physician or professional to go over the medication to make sure, you know, you go through your doctor, your pharmacist.
Sure.
That gives them that seal of approval, what have you. And I think that's, you know, that's the climate that we're in, in the location, and it really, really is beneficial.
And to piggyback on my question of, you know, did you want it to go recreational? If you could pick, would you want the insurance companies to get involved, or do you like the way it's working right now?
You know, insurance, as we said with PBMs, that's another whole can of worms. And I think the reason I prefer it to stay the way it is because at the end of the day, all that's going to do is cost the program more money. People think PBMs save an industry money, and we have not seen that. Employers wind up paying so much more money when insurance is involved.
Oh, when PBMs become their own entity, right? And they have their own interest, right?
Absolutely.
We can have a whole discussion on that.
And then I think it also changes the care of, you know, oh, well, Conrad walked in and has United, and they're paying a different rate, or they're not going to pay for this one when he really needs that one. But the Blue Cross patient can get it. I think
But then he's dealing with paperwork, Rory, and he got claims, and then recoups, refunds, covered claims. I mean, that's just a mess.
Sure. Absolutely.
If you ask ask Dr. Sherrod. As an ER, it's a little different though. He's an ER, but I mean, imagine if you had if you're submitting claims and the audits, and then they come down to surprise audits.
Yes, and tell you how much you're going to get from what they told that we're going to pay you. So no,
I always say the insurance companies are out to not pay.
Oh yeah,
they'll do everything they can to not pay.
Mitigation.
If we had a listener out there that's on Capitol Hill in Baton Rouge listening right now, or when this podcast airs, and you wanted to get a message to them on something that you want about this program tweaked, or you like, or you don't like, is there anything?
What would that be?
You know what I always say is that patients need to realize they need to thank their legislators. And the reason I say that is there's other states that just say no because it's the easy way out.
Yeah.
This has come up, and this helps so many patients. So you need to thank your legislator for stepping up and doing something out the box to help you. In other states, North Carolina, South Carolina, they refuse it.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to get passed this year. But there's many states that take a hands-off approach because it's the easy way. Your government, your legislators stepped up for you, and I say thank them.
Is there a way to do that, though? Let me ask you this. And I agree with you 100%, Randy, but why not publish maybe some statistics data and say, look how many patients we've helped. Look at, this isn't just somebody coming over here because they want to go have fun and go to sleep at night. We've really, or whatever they want to do, right? We really clinically have made a difference in these patients' lives. And look how many people we helped. So, is there a way to do that or share that? Or is that too open? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I'm just curious.
With privacy and HIPAA,
not names. I'm talking about 35, 8,000 patients.
We're collecting that data. We do. We collect that data always, and we do.
And that way you go in front of the committee, right, Randy? And say, look, we've got X patients. Here are the outcomes measurements. And get the doctors to come say, I can't say the patients' names, but it's made a tremendous difference in their lives.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's ultimately what helped get it passed in Louisiana.
Oh yeah,
those patient testimonials.
Oh yeah. What, Dr. Sherrod? What about you? If a legislator was listening to this, who was on the Health and Welfare Committee, right? What would you say to them to help maybe tweak, alter, revise, whatever you want to call it, the medical marijuana legislation in Louisiana?
Yes, I would be more of a compliment to everything, making it more accessible to your rural communities or what have you. There were one of the big things. I work in a lot of the smaller ERs with the staffing companies, and to get the access for these patients to the dispensaries. We're making the step in the right direction by opening up and having more dispensaries, but just having that access and being able for these patients to get help.
And I'll chime in right there. I feel we've made strides in that with not only increasing from 10 to 30 dispensaries, but also we've made it so that everyone needs to deliver now. So all the dispensaries have been mandated you must deliver so that you give access to the rural community. And then on top of that, recently, and I think one of the main topics for us today was to talk about the AG opinion on telemedicine. You know, Dr. Sherrod runs an amazing telemedicine platform. There's less than 200 physicians in this state that are in the medical marijuana program. Without telemedicine, all patients would not have access. So I'm thankful the AG stepped up to give access to all patients by platforms like Dr. Sherrod, because he doesn't just send to Capital Wellness, he sends to all the dispensaries
across the state.
Because he sees patients from around the state via telemedicine. And I'll let him chime in on that, but I think they did a good job at giving more access.
Yeah, Dr. Sherrod, I know we definitely wanted to talk about that and get your both of y'all's opinion on this AG opinion. It's not even 2 weeks old. If you want to,
it's so beneficial because I remember when we started out, we did have to do it in brick and mortar. And I had patients coming all the way from Alexandria. I live in Baton Rouge. They took a 2-hour tour. They ate while they were in town, but to have to go almost 2 to 3 hours away to get, your health care that you need for the medical THC, I think that's ridiculous. And I'm just really glad that they stepped up and, defended the telemedicine, because it allows us to get that access that I've been speaking of, to these people.
So this will allow you to do telemedicine and make recommendations throughout the state of Louisiana via telemedicine. And Randy, how does this allow you? And
well, I think first tell the listeners what is the opinion, because we haven't hit that yet.
We've talked about it. Either y'all want to discuss it or give
you're the attorney, bud. Let's let you.
Yeah, I think they're looking at you
to summarize the opinion, which it wasn't super long. It was only 7 pages, but you've heard us say throughout today's episode, recommend. Typically, when you see a doctor, they prescribe something. Louisiana, there's been a distinction made that doctors can recommend therapeutic marijuana. And so what this Attorney General opinion is that there is another statute in Louisiana that says that if you were going to prescribe Schedule 1 or Schedule 2, and I don't know about 3, but I know 1 and 2 at least, if you're going to prescribe 1 and 2,
you need an in-person visit.
You need it in person. Now, you can do renewals, I believe, through telemedicine.
After the in-person visit. That's after the treatment plan is set.
So this question was, how does therapeutic marijuana fall into that little bubble? And the Attorney General basically made a distinction and said, doctors aren't prescribing here, they're recommending. And they kind of hedged themselves and said, hey, if the Board of Medical Examiners or legislature, if you want to clean it up, you need to go clean up your language. But this is a recommendation. It's not a prescription. So tell me what your thoughts on this.
And I will tell you, that was the legislative intent. Last session when we got this approved, the legislators came together and said they wanted to give access to patients because there was less than 200 physicians that could treat marijuana patients. They wanted to give access. So the Attorney General basically backed up the legislative intent, which was to let telemedicine doctors see patients for what telemedicine was meant for, and the patient do not need to be in person. They do not need to come see them because it's a recommendation and does not follow prescription rules.
Randy, are you allowed to ship inside of Louisiana to a patient that gets a recommendation?
That's a good question. I didn't know that.
We can deliver to them. We have to use our own courier service.
I got it.
You don't want to use a mailing service because then you're back in the federal window again.
I see. Okay.
But we'll bring it to their door. We get them to sign off and verified license and everything. Okay. We don't leave it on their doorstep for just anyone to get. We must see them. We verify license. We scan their license.
Oh, wow.
And they sign it and they take it. And they can designate 2 caregivers to do that for them.
Okay.
But we do bring it to their door. And I will tell you, I think patients are going to see that a lot more coming soon.
Well, like
That's
Dr.
great.
Sherrod said, the Alexandria patient that might not have a pharmacy near them, they could reach out to one of these satellites, meet with Dr. Sherrod via telemedicine, get the recommendation, and then have it brought to them how you just described.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Well, that provides chain of custody. So that's important. So that's good. Well, this is all good all around, because when I saw this opinion, that's what spurred the comment. Let's get Randy on,
absolutely,
and get Dr. Sherrod in here, because this is really it's cutting edge. I mean, like, I'm watching Louisiana medical marijuana law evolve to benefit the citizens.
And Conrad, I'll say that it's amazing. Louisiana really has set the standard.
That's good.
I get calls every day from Mississippi, from Alabama, North Carolina, South Carolina, Texas. I'm working in all those states because I'm so passionate about medical marijuana, and we did it right. So to carry that message to other states, it's amazing. I'm super proud of that.
Well, it sounds like both of y'all have carried the torch.
Yes,
you
indeed.
both saw a need. You saw it from the clinical perspective. You saw it from the pharmacy perspective, and you came through
Yes.
Yes, sir.
to be the first one.
We love it, man. I'm so proud of it.
I'm proud of you too. That's great.
When you come to Capital Wellness and you sit in my lobby and you hear these patients,
Yes.
how thankful they are for this program being in Louisiana, it's an amazing thing.
Yes.
Well, Dr. Sherrod, please tell our listeners how they could find you, as well as, and Randy, I'd like you to do the same, because I'm sure we're going to have follow-up questions that maybe we can't answer, or
Yes.
they'll want to contact you to see if they're eligible for this. So
Yes. Again, I'm Dr. Rome Sherrod, and I'm with Transformative Health Centers. And you can just Google it, and it will pull up our website.
Fantastic. Randy, how about yourself? Capital Wellness.
Same thing. Yep. Capital Wellness. I'm Randy Meir. If you Google Capital Wellness, you'll see Baton Rouge Dispensary. If you go to our website, we have tons of information, not only with our online menu for products that we have, but you could scroll down. You could see the physicians that are on there. Dr. Sherrod is listed first with Transformative Healthcare. You'll see all the physicians. So I encourage everyone, if you want a better treatment, if you're tired of your traditional pharmaceutical meds, reach out, ask questions.
That's great. Well, gentlemen, thank you very much for coming on the show. We really enjoyed having you.
Glad to be
And
here.
and Roy, I got to tell you, I mean, how much stuff did you learn today?
this has been.
I mean, like, really?
Typically, when we do these podcasts, Conrad and I know 90% of the content. This
Yeah.
one, I did not know. I learned a lot.
I learned a lot too.
been
And gentlemen,
really good.
so we would love to have you back.
Yeah.
I mean, I love to, if there's something, let me just say this, if something happens this legislative session and, something changes or for the good or whatever, we'd love to have you back, at the end of the summertime to do a follow-up and come see the evolution, the continued evolution of Louisiana medical marijuana law.
Yes, indeed.
That's great. Well, gentlemen, thank you very much. Everybody, thank you very much for listening to another episode of Shahardy Sherman Williams Health Law Talk. Until next time, everyone be safe. Enjoy.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Health Law Talk, presented by Shahardy Sherman Williams. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel, make sure to give us that 5-star rating, and share with your friends. Shahardy Sherman Williams is providing this podcast as a public service. This podcast is for educational purposes only. This podcast does not constitute legal advice, nor does this podcast establish an attorney-client relationship. Reference to any specific product or entity does not count as an endorsement or recommendation by Shahardy Sherman Williams. The views expressed by guests on the show are their own, and their appearance does not imply an endorsement of them or their entity that they represent. Remember, please consult an attorney for your specific legal issues.